Thank you, Ms Mara. I now call Colette Stevenson to be followed by Gillian Mackay. Up to 6 minutes, please, Ms Stevenson.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Drug-related deaths and drug harms are a public health emergency. The number of people dying from drugs in Scotland is heartbreaking, and the ripple effect of one person having an addiction can be far-reaching. One of my first speeches after my election was on this topic. I started it by paying tribute to my brother Brian, who we lost to an overdose in 2002. Brian was at the forefront of my mind again when I was thinking about today's debate and the effect that drugs have on people. He often talked about the monkey he couldn't get off his back, no matter what. Brian lived with me for a while, but one of the biggest regrets of my life was asking him to leave because of his chaotic lifestyle. I never seen him alive again. I just wish that there had been the right support mechanisms in place for people with addictions and their families to cope. I could be telling a different story today. My dad chose the song For a Dancer by Jackson Browne for Brian's funeral, and I think the words sum up his lifestyle perfectly. And don't worry, I'm not going to sing it. I don't remember losing track of you. You were always dancing in and out of you. I must have thought you'd always be around, always keeping things real by playing the clown. Now you're nowhere to be found. Before he died, Brian was living in Hope House in Glasgow and had been off drugs for 6 weeks. He was doing well, and all the guys there thought he was brilliant. He was then offered a job as a security guard at a festival, which he accepted. Brian and his friends ended up overdosing. Paramedics managed to revive his friend, but sadly, Brian got that monkey off his back in the worst possible way. He was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. Since then, some things have changed. In 2011, Scotland was the first country in the world to introduce a national naloxone programme, empowering individuals, families, friends and communities to reverse an opiate overdose. Since then, the rollout has increased dramatically, from police officers and paramedics to the take-home kits given to individuals at risk of an overdose and their relatives. Had naloxone been so widely available back in 2002, Brian could be alive today. My speech today could have been one focused on my lived experience as a sister of someone who survived an overdose, managed to get that monkey off his back and was living a happy life, there to see his daughter grow up and to be the amazing uncle he could have been. Like many others I have spoken to, I hope that sharing my own experience today shines a light on how we tackle this drug crisis and the importance of getting the right support in place for people who take drugs and their loved ones. I would encourage anyone watching, visit stopthedeaths.com and order naloxone. It could save a life. Of course, while a vital tool, we must accept that there are many opportunities to help someone before it comes to administering naloxone. At the heart of the national mission to save and improve lives is to get people into the treatment and recovery that is right for them. One aspect is residential rehabilitation, which the Scottish Government recently reviewed. More can be done there, so I welcome the action taken to date to improve access to and boost the use of publicly funded residential rehabilitation. Another very welcome development is the MAT standards, which will ensure people can get the help the day they ask for it. That is so vital for addictions. Any approach in tackling drug harms must accept that a range of possible interventions are required. We need treatments available through the NHS, whether that's heroin-assisted treatment, opioid substitutes, detox or residential options. We need interventions in the community like peer support workers, and we need access to advice for housing, social security, employment and training. I recently visited the WISE Group and learned a lot about their work, which also benefits people who have experience of substance misuse, from signposting to mentoring schemes to support for getting back in touch with relatives. Relationships and families are a crucial part of that recovery process for many, and this kind of wraparound support is so important. More generally, I think we should be cautious in thinking there is a one-size-fits-all solution here. Residential treatment might be great for one person, but for another, taking one drug instead of many would be a success. Given polydrug use is now the leading cause of drug-related deaths in Scotland, if we are serious about wanting to tackle the drug deaths emergency and drug-related harms, then we must accept this complexity. We must also realise that tackling deprivation is key to reducing the adverse impacts of drugs on individuals and communities. Tory policies in the 80s and today have driven inequality, which is associated with drug use and addictions. So to conclude, Presiding Officer, I fully appreciate that the number of people dying from drugs in Scotland is not just a number. Each and every person is a mum, dad, brother, sister, son, daughter or friend who had their own hopes and dreams. Improving treatment options and access to healthcare and facilitating recovery are essential. Same-day treatment will make a big difference, and we need to continue the work to remove stigma and support families. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Stevenson.